Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Today we will be looking at the history of Norway. Norway, the land of Vikings, fords and delicious cheese, is located in northern Europe. But before it was a Nordic paradise, it was inhabited by hunter-gatherer societies around 10,000 years ago. These were the same people that created some of the most amazing rock art in the world. Some examples include the famous petroglyphs of Alta and the mysterious Bronze Age site of Jellenstad. The first people to leave their mark on Norway's history were the Vikings. They came from the north and began establishing themselves in the country around 800 AD. You see, the Viking Age was a period of Scandinavian expansion, and these expeditions into new territories led to the establishment of settlements all over Europe, even in North America. In fact, the first European to set foot on continental USA was a Norwegian named Bjorn Herjulsson. Around 500 years before Christopher Columbus, the Vikings were seafarers, traders, and explorers. They established a powerful trading network throughout the Baltic and North Seas. Through their trade, they gained immense wealth and power, but this would soon end. In the late 9th century, raids by the Rus Vikings from the east led to increased pressure on the western Viking areas. To defend themselves, the local kings banded together. They initially adopted a polytheistic religion with beliefs similar to other Germanic peoples. However, during the 11th century, Christianity slowly replaced paganism. One reason for this conversion was the introduction of Christianity by missionaries such as Ansgar and Rimbert. Another reason was the marriage of the King of Norway to a Christian princess from France. As Christianity spread, new churches and monasteries were built, marking a significant shift in religious practices. This change in religion had a profound impact on art, literature, and culture. For example, the beautiful stave churches were constructed during this time. Also, the traditional Viking longships were abandoned for the safer and larger Christian ships. As the Viking Age came to a close, a new era began. From the 12th to the 14th centuries, Norway experienced significant growth and development. This period witnessed the flourishing of towns, an increase in population, and the expansion of trade. Bergen, founded in 1070, became one of the largest cities in Europe. Renowned for its skilled shipbuilders, active trading, and cultural vibrancy, it served as the capital of a vast commercial network stretching from Iceland to the Baltic states. During this time, Norwegian society was divided into three classes. At the top were the king and the nobility, who enjoyed considerable privileges. Below them were the freemen or jarls, who were typically farmers or traders. Lastly, there were the unfree peasants who were tied to the land and obligated to provide labor services. Although a very rigid class system, it's important to note that in comparison to other European nations, the Norwegian system was more egalitarian, granting more rights and freedoms to peasants. In the 1300s, however, everything changed. The Black Death arrived in Norway and devastated the population. And after this, the country entered a period of decline. For the next 200 years, Norway was ruled by Danish kings, and its status as a great power diminished. In the early 1500s, the Kalmar Union was formed, uniting the kingdoms of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden under the rule of the Danish king. This union lasted for almost 200 years, but eventually Sweden grew tired of Danish dominance. In 1562, a war broke out that resulted in Denmark losing all of its Norwegian territories to Sweden, except for a few islands. It's now time for the Danish-Norwegian Civil War, a civil war between pro-Danish and pro-Swedish factions. The goal of the pro-Danish party was to maintain the union with Denmark. While the pro-Swedes wanted independence for Norway, the conflict culminated in the Battle of Jovane, where the pro-Danish forces decisively defeated the Swedes. Despite this victory, the pro-Danish party ultimately lost the war. Norway became an independent kingdom once again in 1660. But the following year, devastating fire ravaged the city of Bergen, destroying many buildings and disrupting trade. It was one of the worst disasters in Norway's history. During the 17th century, Norway played a role in the Dano-Swedish Wars. These conflicts primarily occurred in northern Europe and were part of the broader struggle for power among the Scandinavian kingdoms. Norway became a battleground as both Denmark and Sweden sought to gain an advantage over each other. But Norway wasn't just a passive participant in these wars. The Norwegians actively engaged in naval battles and military campaigns, defending their own interests and supporting their respective allies. For instance, in 1657, a Swedish invasion force landed in Norway with the aim of capturing the strategically important port of Christiania. The Norwegians, however, successfully defended the city, repelling the Swedish assault and protecting it from capture. By the early 18th century, Norway's population had rebounded significantly from the lows of the Black Death, reaching approximately 323,000 people. But during the next century, the population doubled once again. Norway's path to modern times began in 1814, when it declared independence from Denmark. This declaration followed the Napoleonic Wars when the Treaty of Kiel transferred Norway to Swedish rule, so the union between Sweden and Norway lasted for over a century. During this time, Norway's status was that of a province or a county within the Swedish Empire. The actual union between Sweden and Norway was dissolved in 1905, leading to Norway's recognition as a fully independent nation. Norway then went through a process of nation-building to establish itself as a sovereign state. During the early 20th century, Norway achieved significant milestones on its journey to becoming a modern nation. In 1906, the Constitution was amended to introduce universal male suffrage. This reform granted voting rights to all men regardless of property ownership, marking a step towards greater democracy and inclusion. Following its independence from Sweden, Norway was able to forge its own path in international affairs. It maintained a policy of neutrality, staying out of the conflicts that engulfed much of Europe during this period. This neutrality allowed Norway to focus on its domestic affairs and pursue its own national interests. When World War II broke out in 1939, Norway remained neutral at first. However, on April 9, 1940, Germany invaded the country. The German objective was to secure Norway's valuable resources, particularly iron ore from the mines in the north, which were crucial for their war effort. The Norwegian people fiercely resisted the occupation, and a national unity government was formed to coordinate the resistance. Key figures like Vidkun Quisling, who served as the head of the Norwegian government during the war, although he collaborated with the Germans. Despite facing significant challenges and suffering heavy losses, the Norwegian resistance persisted throughout the war. They engaged in acts of sabotage, intelligence gathering, and open-armed conflict with the occupying forces. Notable acts of resistance included the defense of the Lofoten Islands and the Battle of Narvik, where Norwegian commandos successfully disrupted German troop deployments and supply lines. Finally, on May 8, 1945, Germany surrendered. Marking the end of the Second World War, post-war Norway experienced a period of reconstruction and recovery. The country faced the task of rebuilding its economy, infrastructure, and society. Norway's post-war economic recovery was marked by significant growth and prosperity. The discovery and exploitation of oil and gas reserves in the North Sea in the 1960s and 1970s transformed the Norwegian economy, making it one of the wealthiest nations in Europe. The revenues from the petroleum industry contributed to high living standards, social welfare programs, and investments in infrastructure and education. Norway joined NATO in 1949, seeking collective security and cooperation with other Western nations. Its membership in NATO has been a cornerstone of its foreign policy, providing Norway with strong alliances and partnerships. Additionally, Norway's commitment to neutrality dates back to the early 20th century. However, the decision to join NATO did not imply a departure from this principle. Instead, it was seen as a means to protect Norway's security and independence while still maintaining non-alignment. Norway's policy of neutrality can be traced back to its desire to stay out of the conflicts and power struggles that have often engulfed Europe. By remaining neutral, Norway aimed to safeguard its independence and avoid being drawn into wars that could potentially threaten its sovereignty. Today, Norway is a highly developed country with a strong emphasis on sustainability and renewable energy. It's known for its stunning natural beauty, including its fjords, mountains, and extensive coastline. Norway also has a rich cultural heritage, including a vibrant music scene and a tradition of storytelling. It's a popular destination for tourists from around the world who come to experience its natural wonders and cultural attractions. So that was a very quick look at the history of Norway. If you want to support the channel even more, consider becoming a member. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.